something I feel so strongly and passionately about is the accessibility for young girls who are located and live in, let's say, rural areas or inner city areas, or just places where it's difficult to get to training. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And I know Jen's got a bit more information on this, but that's what I feel so strongly about, is that everybody should have the best opportunity to get to a training session where they can be noticed and where they can be nurtured and developed as a footballer. Because my experiences in it, I was extremely lucky. I had an extremely committed mum who picked me up from school 15 minutes early at the end of the school day at 3:15 to drive me over to Liverpool in traffic to get to a training session. And whilst she was studying to become, further her career at university as a nurse. So she was doing that. She was revising in the car whilst watching me train. Now, I was very lucky, but not everybody is that lucky to have a parent who can afford to do that and is committed to do that. So we really need to make sure that what happens next is everyone gets an equal opportunity to be talented, because there's a genuine career in this now.
It's the ETCs, I think that's what they're called. They're called Emerging Talent Centres. And basically there's been a lot about diversity in England, and that's the one thing is that they're jumping the number from about 50 to I think it's 70 Emerging Talent Centres next year. And I think it's basically something like 95% of players are going to be within an hour of one of those centres. So that will improve, like what Izzy's saying, diversity, accessibility, and I think that will be huge.
It's great, an hour from where people live. But if you live in London, and take it from me, from where I've looked at it as where I grew up, my nearest ETC would probably be Brentford or Arsenal. That's nowhere near. So is it close enough to those people? Are you breaking down the barrier of people that don't have someone to drive them, or don't have the money to get the transport, or the transport is too late at night? I'm not quite sure we're affecting that enough in inner city London. I look at where I grew up and what would be closest to me. So would you have lost me if I was coming through now? Would I be lost? Because early stages, my mum didn't drive. I got into football through playing for a boys team, and the coach saying, this isn't right that this girl, doesn't have anywhere to go. But it was him that sort of searched around and found there was another female player, Natasha Daly, who grew up in Willesden, which was around the corner from me. And he arranged with her dad that I went with him and them to the training session. So if he hadn't have done that, would I have known about women's football? Would I have known about Mill Hill United, my first club? No, the question. Then I found, obviously, Arsenal and got into teams and stuff like that. So although, yes, I'm really pleased that things are getting done and we're addressing, I'm not 100% sure that it solves the problem for everybody, and that it will break down the barriers for every child being able to access.
Diane Bronze, and she'll love this shout out, Lucy Bronze's mum, used to take Lucy, Demi and Jordan to training. And it was about an hour and a half drive, because they lived right on the top of almost on the borders, I think, of Scotland. So Diane Bronze was extremely committed to getting Lucy, Demi, Jordan Nobbs, who have all gone on and had top international careers with England, to training. Now that might not happen anymore. So Yanks is spot on. There needs to be solutions in these talent centres that, what springs to my mind, we're not here to try and find a solution, but is the funding has to include transport that collects players and takes them to training.
I think now, I think we can all sit here and say that when we were coming through, though, there was no such thing as girls' academies. So it was
totally different.
It didn't exist. There was no such, we all had to play with boys' teams. There was no, you had to have someone that was committed to driving you somewhere. I remember being at Man City, and I think we had an evening game, and there was I remember walking into the building, looking to the right where the Astro pitches are, and there was all girls academies, all girls training at 5, 6 o'clock, whenever it was, and just remember thinking, that is class. Like, that didn't exist when I was a kid. So the progression already is massive, even being at Arsenal, the academies and the amount of age groups now. But it's about fine tuning those last little bits now about because even reading back that 95% of people within an hour, within an hour, I was like, that's still far. Like, that's still like a long way to travel. Or how are you getting there? Like, what mode of transport is it easy? And I was like, especially for London, Yanks, what you were saying, the size of the city, like an hour's travel
Also,
still
after
like
school, Jen, traffic.
Yeah,
100%. Within an hour,
it's double, really.
I could get just down the road within an hour in London.
Yeah.
There's no traffic up north. It's lovely up here.
Yeah, but like everything, I always say, like, okay, yeah, we can take from the men's game what we've done, but then women's football's at such a little niche where we can take what's gone well in the men's game and adapt it to the women's game and what we can make it better. So yeah, it's amazing we have these girls' academies and there's so much going on, but it's still there's still a lot of work to be done about accessibility and making it more diverse and available for everyone.